Welcome to Wild and Wise, where I dive into conversations with trailblazers in business, design, and creativity. Together, we'll uncover the wisdom and wild spirit behind their journeys, the stories, the struggles, and the sparks of inspiration that shape a curated life. Follow along on Instagram at WildXWisePod. Now let's dive into today's episode. Today's guest is someone whose presence radiates both wisdom and truth. I've got my girl, Kelly Dalrymple here, the brand new owner of Sojourn Healing Collective. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Such a big deal. I can't wait to dive into talking about this new ownership for you. You've been teaching for over 8 years. She's a yoga instructor, birth doula. She was my doula with my daughter. And an educator. Her work is rooted in the belief that both yoga and birth are profound portals to presence, transformation, and discovery. Your teachings are inspired by a deep desire to help people rediscover a sense of home within their own bodies, trusting that when we cultivate a more intentional relationship with ourselves, we open up access to the wisdom and tools that already live within us. Thank you so much for being here today.
I'm honored. Thanks for having me. You've been like such an expander for me forever. I've known you so long now.
I know.
And I feel like, you've just been beautiful to watch. Like, you're so expressive at everything you do and definitely an inspiration in that way. So I'm honored.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Sojourn Healing Collective is somewhere that has changed my life. Your classes obviously are the ones I go to the most, but I discovered this space when they were in Bankers Hill and just felt such a deep connection to the teacher that I had. It opened up a different type of energy for me to understand what a class could be like, to find peace within and to not be sweating and trying to keep up, but really to slow down and to get grounded. And it continues to be a place that feels like church, you know, my church, to be on that mat and to be with you. I talk a lot about my experience in yoga, but I think you are the person that has like shaped what that is. And so I started obviously in your, what do you call it? The pregnancy class.
Prenatal.
The prenatal yoga class. But, you know, we've become friends. We've talked about business. We've just been there to support each other. And now you just purchased the very place that has been so transformative. So tell us a little bit more about how that came about.
Yeah. I mean, same. Sojourn has truly been my church too for so long. And when I first moved back to San Diego and was looking to teach somewhere, I was so lucky that I had found Sojourn literally like 2 months after it had opened. And Whitney, the previous owner and founder of the space, was so incredible, auditioned me even when I was still a kind of a baby teacher. And I got to be a part of that space when it was brand new and when she was building it from the ground up as a collective. So not even just a yoga studio, but like at the time, remember in Bankers Hill, it was like healers in a bunch of different offices in the space. And she was really trying to build it as a space that was kind of all of the healing modalities under one roof. And so I got to be a part of it early on. And I remember, you know, as a yoga teacher, you try to teach at multiple different places around town. And everywhere that I went to teach, nothing felt quite like Sojourn did. It's just such again, puts more of the emphasis on the slowing down part, which I think a lot of yoga in the West doesn't do a great job of that. It's more
like
about
a forgotten thing.
It is. It's like, let's sweat. And there's, you know, I think that's an access point into deeper yoga for a lot of people. And even when I first started yoga, it was fast. And then eventually I moved towards the slowing down. But Sojourn just does such a good job of pushing the pause button and making you like really drop in. And there's just no place like that. And everywhere I've gone, I've never felt how I do there. And so Sojourn has been, my like truly probably one of the only places on earth that feels like genuine home for me. And when the opportunity came up and Whitney said she was selling, I was so sad. Like that was my first emotion, was just like, oh my gosh, because Whitney has really been the one that's done the job of creating such a sacred space and like curating it. And even just the way that she's a business owner is so grounded in like, she's guided by her intuition, and she just does such a good job of the balance between business and like soulfulness. And when I heard she was selling, I was like, oh my gosh, like Sojourn can't change. Like, it's just such a great space. And then like the next morning I was like, wait, maybe I could do this. And really, it was just like an inkling of a thought. And then everything has just like fallen into place, which has been, I think, such a testament to the fact that it's the next right thing for me. And it just feels like so in alignment. And I feel really honored that she chose me to like steward the place and take it forward into its next chapter. And obviously I'm going to keep the soul of the space the same, because so many of us feel like it's home and church and just such a special place, but I'm going to make it even better and all the things. So
ushering in a new era based off of like your soul and your vision.
I get to make it my own.
Making it your own is really important. Tell me a little bit more about like what you see for the space, what you want to do, what you're called to doing. Share as much as you can. I know that you're in the beginning stages.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. It's interesting because like Whitney and I adore her, and she's such an inspiration to me. And we're also like very different. I think she's like a very ethereal creature, and I feel like I'm very like a body-based, grounded individual. And so I feel like I'm definitely going to bring a different like aspect to, I guess it's more about like what brought me to the practice. And so I guess we'll dive a little into that, because I think it has a lot to do with where my goal of taking the space. And it kind of ties, I think there's a bit of a through line of like my yoga work, my birth work, and all of the education stuff I do. So what really kind of like led me here is relationship to body. I feel like this earthly existence for me is like all about like my karma is the body, and like figuring out my relationship to body. And like I, in my younger years had just like a very complicated relationship with the body, which like, it's growing up in 90s, early 2000s, like the culture around body was very toxic. And, I just remember like, my mom and my dad, obviously victims of that same culture as well. But like, I remember my dad like always being on a different fad diet and like, like isogenics, sprinkling the like powder on his foods and eating just like packaged bars and drinks and whatever. And my mom she was always pinching herself and like talking about how she didn't love this and that about herself. And I just remember like that combined with growing up reading Vogue and 17 magazine. And I even like had a collage in my closet of like all the cutouts of like bodies and models that I, just like such a toxic first understanding of like what the body is. And I remember like growing up, my relationship to my body was both kind of about performance in the way that I was an athlete and aesthetics. Like that's how I learned about what this thing is for. Yeah. And when I was 15, I decided to go vegan for like moral purposes. And then I quickly realized that was like a way of controlling my food. So like when I was out, it's like, I'm vegan, I can't eat that. And so I got to like graze and nobody was worried, and just a very disordered eating and very dysfunctional. And it just like built on itself. And so like my early teens to mid to late 20s was really, I could like summarize it all by just saying that I felt like so numb in my body, almost like a head just like floating above a body. Like I felt so disconnected from this thing. And I was in college playing college volleyball, and I was a personal trainer at Equinox in like Orange County, which is like a very specific culture within that gym. It's like very aesthetic focused. People are all about like what they look like. And I remember it was like close to when I was graduating college and kind of at the peak of my dysfunctional eating and complex body situation. And I'm in this environment, and it was just like such a pressure cooker. And I got to that point where I was like, this is killing me. Like all of my energy is focused on what I'm going to eat next, and how it was such an energetic drain. And I got to that point where I was absolutely done. And I remember when I was coaching at Equinox, I would like between every client sneak off into the yoga room, and I would take yoga classes. And I'll never forget the instructor at that Equinox. He was incredible. This like beautiful queer Black man. He was so incredible. And I specifically sought out his classes, and there was mirrors in the room, but he specifically taught facing away from them. He was like, close your eyes. He had the lights down. It was very similar to like a Sojourn feeling of like, this isn't about performing. It's not about contorting. It is literally about, it was about feeling. And it was so much of his cueing was just like feel, sense, you know? Mm-hmm. And that was like really the first time I'd ever experienced being in my body. And it was like this slow, almost like thawing out of my body, genuinely. Like it was the first time where I was like, oh, climb out of my head and get down in here. And so I quit my job and I went to Bali and I did my teacher training. And I was like, I know this is the medicine for me. And that was like truly kind of the portal into the rest of, you know, my life up until this point. Cause yeah, going that teacher training was the best thing I ever did. It was a month long of just being in this bubble where we were in Bali. There was no mirrors in the entire place we were staying at. So I mean, like I gained like 20 pounds, like a gorgeous 20 pounds of just like gorging myself on mango and papaya and just like doing yoga and like forgetting about what I looked like and really getting into my body. And so, yeah, I think so much of, I mean, of course, there was a million other things that I did to heal from, you know, disordered eating. But truly, yoga was the thing that has been kind of my anchor point and the thing that like coaxed my energy and my attention and my awareness out of my head and like down there inside of my body. And it's so crazy because being on the other side of like an eating disorder and feeling truly like I have never felt so connected to this thing, I realized like through the practice too that once you get down here and in the body, like there's so many like tools and there's so much, like there's a full on like compass and this whole like navigation center in the body for just living. And I, for so long didn't have access to this. And now that I do, it's like, I just want to share that. And so much of my teaching is really inspired by that first teacher who I had at Equinox, and also just about truly like, this isn't performance. This isn't about aesthetic. This isn't for anybody else but you. And like, we're just little souls that like landed in these vessels. And like, this is our vessel for like exploring and playing in this lifetime. And there's actually like so much intelligence down here. And when you have access to it, that's when like all the goodness starts to happen. And so, yeah, like I think like what you said in the intro, it's like that's really my guiding force in teaching is connecting people to the body. Because if they can get down here, it's like they have all of these tools that just like open up to them. And then of course, my like internal compass led me towards birth work. And then that was a whole nother like deeper dive into the body. Cause, you know, even I was there for your birth and like just witnessing birth has also been, I mean, the cherry on top of healing from an eating disorder, because witnessing that sort of magic inside of the body, like seeing how intelligent and wise the body is and how that's what it's for, is like birthing ideas and people and creation, you know, that's what it's about. It's not for anything else. And so birth work has been so incredibly healing to me. And also I can see how so many of like the clients that I work with are disconnected from their body. And then they're in this like time of life that's, you know, being pregnant is this like body being like, come down here and like connect with me and let's do this thing together. Let's birth this amazing creation. And so it feels extra important to connect women and birthing people to their bodies and like the wisdom that's down there. So I think again, like everything in my life is just like body relationship. And
it's almost like you had to go through the disordered to have the deep desire to like constantly feel the attraction towards a life that only grounds you within your body. 100%. Like you would never, you know, I'm sure getting, you know, buying the business required a tremendous amount of paperwork and financials and none of that, you know, the passion to do all that and think, okay, it doesn't matter how long this is going to take or what the negotiations are, whatever the stipulations are, because this is my calling. But it became that because of out of the pain or out of the trauma or out of the old generations and that you're breaking, the old cycles that you're breaking.
Totally.
And I also just was thinking about, I felt really out of my body when I came to your class and I was very disconnected from my body. And what an interesting position to be in for you that women are coming to either your classes or, hiring you as their doula. And the range for which they are connected to their body is so vast that you have to like show up in so many different ways, or simply maybe as yourself, and you are the anchor in those moments. But I feel so different about my body than I did during that time right now, because I'm more connected to myself, because I've healed, because I've shed layer upon layer, maybe books and books and libraries of my life. And I just, as an empath, I just like pictured myself being in a room with a woman who either is completely connected to her body and you guys are flowing together as she's birthing. And then the next morning, the next day, the next birth, it's somebody that is like been taught to disconnect from her body. And that can happen for women for so many different reasons. But it's so interesting, this idea that like restriction, restraint, performance is such a like feminine sort of archetype social construct that we have. And I can see such a shift happening. So like, what an amazing time that you're stepping into this role as business owner, where, to be frank, I've never known more women to leave men than this year. Ever.
Oh my gosh, 100%.
It is a wild number. We are walking into our divine feminine. The world is crumbling as a result of the feminine energy being suppressed. And now it sort of can't be suppressed any longer. Talk to me a little bit about like how that energy is like flowing into the decisions you're making, the way that you're running your business, your philosophy and your practice, because I do feel like you have that energy, you omit that energy, and it can be felt within the space. Oftentimes there'll be of like maybe 40 people in the class, like 2 men, and bless their hearts, but it's such a feminine way to move the body. And how have you seen that like shift, with the way that women are empowered through this practice?
I mean, I agree 100%. I've never seen more women leave men. And I also just think this moment in time is wild. Because, it is this like patriarchy crumbling and the suppression of just, feminine, curious, playful, exploratory, deep care, all those energetics that kind of go with the, within the compartment of feminine, being suppressed. And it is interesting. I'm also like in this moment where the world is like so heavy and so intense, and also personally, there's a lot of beautiful things happening. So holding both of those is wild too. There's just so much like juxtaposition in general, but it does feel more important than ever to like get people connected. I think the biggest thing that I see right now is just so much disconnection on like every front, and like disconnection from body, disconnection from self, disconnection from each other, obviously disconnection from left and right and all the political, disconnection. There's just so many layers of it. And so, it's never felt more important to get people to slow down and connect, like to plug into presence and to get connected to self. Because I also think it's wellness. And I think maybe this is kind of one of the things that I really plan to do in Sojourn. It's like the wellness world is so interesting because obviously there's so much emphasis on self-care, which is obviously so important. But in my brain, I'm like, all the stuff we do for self is just so that we can go back out into the world and be better human beings and for each other and for the planet. And so I think with Sojourn, I want to put a lot of emphasis on going inward so that you can go outward. A lot of the self-care, of course, and showing up, but also with community and the larger collective in mind.
Like once you really find that place, then what are you doing with it?
Exactly.
It's like phase 2, right?
Phase 2, exactly. Yeah. And I think those things can be, it's not like do the self-care and once you're healed, go out into the world. It's like, it literally is like a little staircase. It's like do some work, go integrate and, up and up and up. So I think with Sojourn, so much more emphasis on community and collective. I know that was kind of what Whitney built Sojourn on, and she's been stepping back for a couple years, and the space has definitely, it needs a little bit of love and care and bringing everybody back together. And so a lot more kind of community events. I'm going to offer a class that's like yoga philosophy through the lens of current events. So really talking, like getting real, and let's talk about, not just studying yoga philosophy, but actually bringing that like ancient wisdom and using it as a lens to look at what is currently unfolding in the world. And so having conversations really like this, but with yoga philosophy as kind of a guide. And I think I think that's really, yoga was a practice that was built by men and for men in India bajillion years ago. And the actual traditional yoga is very like kind of rigid and maybe masculine and structured. And there's certain types of yoga, even like Ashtanga, which is like a common thread of yoga, where the practice is it is about creating shapes in the body and being really kind of postured and posed. And the yoga I teach, like, is very like, we are wiggling. We are just like really exploring. And of course, the yoga shapes are this kind of like, it's like a coloring book. Like they're like the lines, but I would encourage people to color outside the lines a lot. And I think that's where like the really juicy stuff comes from. So I think that too, which it's like, yes, there's this beautiful tradition of yoga, and we also get to like evolve it and like make it our own. And I think taking that medicine and adding a little bit of our own to it too. So I'll always be at Sojourn teaching that kind of yoga, like the one that's just about curiosity and climbing attention in the body and playing. So
when I love at the end of each class, you always, thank the ancient philosophies and the ancient practice. And like we've been able to adapt it. And something else that I think you're really passionate about that you and I've talked about is also within, there's obviously a lot of things going on in the world as well as the wellness world.
Yeah.
But that privilege part is one where they say one thing, but it kind of feels like another. It feels like you can't come in if you're not looking a certain way, wearing a certain brand. Like there's become this sort of layer and level of sort of the same old bullshit that we saw maybe in high school that 100%. Exists in the wellness world. So where do you think that Sojourn sort of separates itself from that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, yoga, wellness world, all of it, it's so interesting because it's the most simple practice, and that you literally, technically you don't even need a mat. You can just get on the ground and start rolling around, and like that is yoga. And it was brought to the West, and it is like, here in America, it's all about, selling things. That's capitalism. And so we've like told this story, this narrative that like you have to look a certain way, you have to have the right yoga mat and wear the right matching set and like to fit into this world. And that's not true at all. Like yoga is literally all you need is your breath, really. Like you really technically don't even need to have full access to the body, right? Like anybody, even if there's a handicap or something that you're working with in the body that limits your ability to move, like if you can breathe, that is yoga. And I think within Sojourn, like I've put a lot of emphasis on being really trauma informed and trauma sensitive and also accessible. And my practice has always been that. I think that's, when I look at like reviews or I get feedback from people, that's like my proudest feedback, is that it feels so accessible, and I don't feel like I don't fit here. I feel like I belong, which is like the best thing to hear, because truly like it's such an interesting thing to teach yoga. And, at the end, obviously, Shavasana, corpse pose, you ask people to lay down in the tender underbelly of their body facing up and their eyes are closed, and you're asking them to like fully surrender. They're in a room with a bunch of people and you're like, okay, relax and be with yourself. Like that's a huge ask. It's like a very vulnerable ask. And so I've really taken it on as an instructor to be like, my job is to make people feel safe from like the moment that they walk into a space that I'm holding. And I know that's through the language I use. It's through how I present myself. And if I'm showing up in like matching set with everything perfectly done, like that's not going to send a message that like everyone fits here. So I normally like 90% of the time I'm wearing sweats, 90% of the time my hair looks like disheveled. I want to like, I'm also like, I don't feel like I need to show up a certain way because I don't want people to feel like they need to show up a certain way. It's like, be as you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really know that it is my job to make people feel safe. And I think one of the things, I'm going to bring in, one of the very first things I'm doing too as the owner of the space is just hosting my good friend Taina Rodriguez Berardi, she's incredible. She like went to LMU to do her like a deeper dive into yoga philosophy at like the college level, and she's incredible, and she's going to come in and do kind of a trauma sensitivity training for like the whole staff. So I do think there's like that kind of thing where it's like I want yoga and Sojourn specifically to be a space where people know that if they come in, they're going to be welcome, they're going to be held no matter literally what, So
are you keeping the name Healing Collective?
Yeah, definitely. I'm putting more emphasis on that for sure.
Yeah. Because I think that in my times of feeling like the most lost, I mean, because it is hard. There's so much out there, whether it's, taking the right supplements or going to therapy or, being hypnotized and going to therapy. It's just like, there's been so many times where I have felt like I don't know where to go, so I will go to a class and then within that find like a business card up on the check-in table that's like a different modality that I need. Or even like my friend Anthony came with me to a class and then after like introduced me to his acupuncturist because we had kind of connected over healing in your space. And so I think it's a beautiful part of why people are so attracted to San Diego because there is a huge healing community. So we step outside of the wellness world, which sometimes I think from my perspective can be a little bit cliquey. Yeah. But when you talk about healing, it becomes very open. Like I know so many amazing healers in San Diego, and I know so many people in so much pain. And I think that pain, of course, is reflected in the world, but also that it is that disconnection from the body. Yeah. When I think about even, my own family, like there are people in my family going through a lot of different things, but I think if I could like pinpoint it at the end of the day, it's that there's a disconnection between the mind, the heart, the soul, and the body. Like there's something that's not talking to each other. Right. That's a good way to put it. And so what's beautiful too is that once you start that healing and you build that collective and that community, quite literally once the body starts talking to each other, but then you're also bringing people together so that they can be talking to each other, and then that connection forms. Yeah. And I think, the world is heavier than it's probably ever been, but the only way that I find solace in this world is to be connected to my community and to be connected to my body and my soul through things like your classes. Yeah. So what kind of other things, just for people who have never been to Sojourn, like, can you talk a little bit about beyond the yoga, like what's offered in the space? Yeah. I mean, Sojourn, in the past couple of years, we've been adding to kind of the yoga school. So we have yoga teacher trainings, and we're starting to add kind of continuing educations as well. So, and yoga teacher trainings are not just for people that want to be able to teach. Like there's tons of people that just want to dive deeper into yoga philosophy and like what the practice is all about. Because truly in an hour of yoga, you're just really tip of the iceberg, like skimming the surface of what yoga is. And there's so much down beneath the surface. And so tons of people do our teacher trainings just for their own personal development and understanding and deepening their own practices. And so we've beefed up those offerings a ton, and we'll start to add more of those in the future. We have a healing room, which we're going to start really pouring into a lot more, but already I think we have like 6 healers that work out of that space. Some provide Reiki, some past life regression stuff, and sound healings one-on-one. There's a bunch of sound healing in the space, which the Sojourn community is obsessed with our sound healings. And I think that's one of like our most popular offerings. There's meditation classes, and we'll add more of those. And then Sojourn, and a huge part of the business is the workshops that we offer. And those are hosted by in-house teachers, but also people just passing through town or whatever, people all around San Diego that want to host in our space. And the range of offerings is so broad, and we're going to keep kind of expanding that. And again, it's kind of to your point of, not everyone is going to love what I have to offer and connect with what I have to offer healing, but there's so many people in that space that have their own specific offerings that people will love. Like you're going to find the pathway towards connection that works for you. And so we're trying to offer like so much of that. It's so much diversity in that. And so there is just so many incredible healers in that space, on the mat, in the healing room, in the workshop space. And yeah, you will find someone that you love, if not multiple people that you love there that have an offering that feels really helpful in connecting you to self and
to healing. So yeah, there's tons of offerings. We offer retreats, and we'll start to offer more of those, and also making those more accessible by offering some more local retreats too, and like shorter retreats, which I'm really excited about. So yeah, the Sojourn world will just keep growing. There's tons of little kind of branches off of the center, the core, which is the yoga. So yeah, it's a really special space. And I think going in there, like do the unlimited month and like take as much as you can and like discover the people that feel like you just are connected to them in the way that we're connected to each other. Right. And yeah, it's Sojourn is incredible. It's such a special place.
Because I think about going in and feeling like really fucked up.
Yeah.
And like, how do you find the right class or person or modality for you? And then I also think about like breaking free and walking in and being like, I want to eat it all. I want it all. So like, and I guess maybe like I've come in with both. So I'm only comparing, like there's many other experiences of just like, life's fine. I'm coming in. But of course I'm being like a deep Pisces. I need to be like, what are the two big feelings walking into this room? But I have been those both feelings. So they're ones that I relate to, where there's a time that I was just broken and unwell and started going and just felt like a robot. And like, I just don't even know how I was like a functioning human being. Yeah. And then other times, maybe more recently, where I was like, I am free. I want to explore my body. I feel like there's a lot that needs to come out that is no longer serving me. Yeah. And I just continue to, in your class, pull that out and leave that at the mat and like leave that there. Yeah. And it's interesting because I do think that there is a very interesting perception of yoga that many people don't. I mean, I talk about your class to a lot of different people because I feel like I truly breathe out all that I'm sort of suffering within and then breathe in that which like needs to heal those parts that we're suffering. Yeah. And so much of like the deep stretch, I often get into my head and be like, this is not feeling good. Yeah. And that's right when you'll kind of come in and say like, breathe into the parts, like release them. And it's just such a good reminder because I think people don't realize, the body keeps score, how much the stress of certain parts of your life or the unspoken parts of your life, the things that you've shoved down, the ways that you've had to conform, be quiet, it sits within your body in so many places. And I, recently had an experience where like I had eczema all over my face for like a year. Yeah. And it's finally healing, thank God. And I've, found a really incredible doctor that's been helping me. Shout out Dr. Petty at Oasis.
Nice.
Love.
Yes.
But, I think that our bodies are talking to us more than ever. The world is heavier than ever. Yeah. And such a big part of why I wanted to have you on was not just because the timing is just impeccable that you just purchased this. And I'm just so proud of you, really like woman to woman.
Thank you.
You and I've had so many conversations about business and ways that you wanted to like take the world and guide women.
Thank you.
But also like, I just wish more people almost knew about this as a way, because I'm not athletic. I don't want to go for a run. I don't want to lift weights. I just don't. I don't want to sweat really. I like ride a bike or like lay on a Pilates.
You're a Pilates princess.
Yeah.
I love that.
I always tell people who don't like to work out, I'm like, you just lay down.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
Just lay down. It's not that.
You're just kind of like moving some things with your arms. It's totally chill.
Yes.
But yeah, I wanted more people who are listening or watching who are feeling this sort of like overwhelming feeling and sense that like something needs to shift, something needs to change, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know where to start, and do I read a book, and then what do I do with it? It's like coming into a space with teachers or leaders that have really had this trauma informed, experience. They talk in these terms, welcoming you into a space where like all you need to do is move how feels good to you.
Exactly.
You'll give the direction, but you're always so great about saying like, if that doesn't feel good, here's 4 other ways you can do it. And if that doesn't feel good, you can lay down this way.
100%.
And it's so beautiful that you do that, because you're right. Like if I couldn't do that first sort of direction, I would feel inherently like inferior in some silly way. But for you to offer the other layers, I've definitely found myself usually at the like easiest layer, because I'm just not flexible, or there's a lot going on in my hips. And I think it just speaks volumes to like the way that you're going to lead this business, this like open space, because I've seen so many more people in San Diego building communities. Like I can really see whether it's like the run clubs or like the coffee walks and just like people are craving togetherness more 100%. Than ever. It's really beautiful. Are there other communities that you are part of or that you enjoy being around? Like what is your life outside of the studio look like?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying all of that stuff because I feel like yoga is so interesting because it isn't about like getting to a certain place in it. It's just about showing up exactly as you are. It's like a forever practice. And that's like the beauty of it. It's there for you always. And showing up how you did years ago where you were saying you're like, you know, in a space where everything felt hard and you know, intense. And then showing up now where things are feeling more free and maybe alive. And both of those are beautiful. And you show up to the practice and it's there for you either way. And whatever you're coming to the practice with, like yoga, it knows exactly what to give you and you get out of it whatever you need. And so it's a lifelong practice. It's beautiful. It's there for everyone. And especially at Sojourn where we are trying to make sure that everyone has those layers to choose from and it's accessible, like come show up and you will get out of it at what you need. And and I agree that, and this was part of taking on Sojourn. I will say selfishly, so much of it was because, you know, this past year, everything going on in the world has been really hard. And I do feel like I've been in this bit of a kind of a pit of despair and really trying to move towards that because I'm like, okay, this is how I'm showing up right now, which is like, whoa, what's happening in the world is gnarly. And like what's happening right here in America. And it's just so like, there's this kind of helpless feeling about it. And I'm also like, okay, obviously the larger world, it's feeling chaotic. Like I'm going to zoom into my own little world that I'm curating on like this micro level and really try to curate something that is kind of reflective of the larger world that I like hope to see. Like that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this tiny little sliver of the universe that I have control over as special and as like deeply intentional and caring and healing as I possibly can. And my partner and I have been doing that inside of our home and like this, having this opportunity to step into Sojourn and create or carry forward this community and make it more robust and like really make it this third place that people love being and spending time and coming not only for healing, but community and for their own little church. Like that has been so healing for me deeply on a personal level. Yeah, it just feels like while, and you know, that doesn't, even though this is like one of the most exciting times of my adult life, like it feels so like thrilling to be able to do this full time for work. Like I've always worked a bajillion jobs to support doing this yoga work. And now I get to do it full time. Like it's so exciting. And also the world's like I'm holding both right now. And I'm also, you know, it's like I'm so depressed when I look out my news feed. And also I'm so excited about all of these things I'm creating on a micro level. And I think right now it has been really healing to be like, okay, this sliver of the universe is what I have control over. And I'm going to pour my heart and soul into this space. And hopefully that ripples out. And
it does.
Yeah, thanks.
I think like the title of this episode should be "This Sliver of the Universe."
Sliver of the universe.
Because I feel the exact same way. I mean, you can so really get, and you know, it's important to care, but also sometimes with the world, it's like, is it mine to hold right now? Is it mine to hold today? Is it mine to hold this month?
Right. And when you get down to the question of like, what can I actually do to make a difference? It's like, take care of your sliver of the, and imagine if every goddamn person on this planet did that, then this would be an insanely different world. If everyone was like, this little sliver of the universe is mine to take deep care of. Like, so it does feel like that really is like the thing to do right now, you know?
And I struggle sometimes with it too, because I don't want to be checked out and I don't want to be not in the know. But to your point, the more that I've focused on my sliver of the world, whether it's just lighting incense, opening the windows, turning on some music and dancing with my kids, it's a hell of a lot better than being stuck in bed, feeling helpless, feeling awful.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, you're right. Even my friends that are very more deeply affected by what's happening in the world than maybe others.
Yeah.
I think sometimes forget that, like, they're allowed to feel joy.
Yeah.
It's like this weird guilt. Well, not weird, but just I can understand the juxtaposition of like
it's hard
horrible things happening to children and other people and, you know, so many things. but also where is that energy going? It's like really important to like be guiding it towards that sliver of the universe.
Right. And to be fair, like the people that are the most destructive in this world goes back to being disconnected from body, from self, and from all the things. So it's like if we're doing the work of going inward and like really committing to like deep awareness inside of ourselves and like being the best humans that we can be here, it's like hopefully, you know, again, I wish that every single person on the planet would do that, but I think that is like, it is deeply important work to be doing. And, you know, self-awareness, again, it's going inward to go back outward, and the same to the degree that we go inward and we get more aware and more connected and clear, that it is the indirect proportion. That's how we move out into the world.
I mean, yeah, think about the ripple effect of like one sentence that really stood out to me during this sort of like last 6 months of major life transition was like, people can only meet you as deeply as they've been able to meet themselves or their pain. And so if you're opening the door for the 40 people in your class each time to go a little bit deeper, to then go home to share more of that with their partner or their roommate or their friend or their mother. And then that's reflecting. I mean, think about just like what can happen from that. And I think that's the beauty of what you're doing. And I'm so grateful for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
If someone takes just one thing from our conversation today, what do you hope that it is?
Ooh. Well, definitely take care of your little sliver of the universe. It is precious and it makes a difference. And then also, I think as just a very simplified, like one thing that you can do to get more connected and aware is like set a 15-minute timer, lay down on the floor. Doesn't matter what you look like. Doesn't matter what you're wearing. Doesn't matter if you have a yoga mat. Put your hands on your body, close your eyes, and literally just be still with no goal to achieve. Like literally just allow whatever is in there to kind of unfold and just be like that. I think is the most healing. I mean, that's Shavasana on steroids, right? Like 15 minutes, just be still and just be present. I think that's where the magic happens. So keep it simple.
Taking notes.
Just lay down, be still, be silent, nothing to achieve.
It's like so funny because every time I'll like go to a therapy, he's like, have you been meditating? It's like, I don't know why I cannot get myself, but I'll like go to a class where it's meditational.
Yeah.
But I like this idea of just like not trying to be anywhere or get to anything.
Don't even call it meditation. Literally just lay down. One of my favorite practices, this is because meditation is, when you put the label on, I feel like it is hard to be like, I'm going to sit down and meditate. But one of my favorite things, and I cue this sometimes in class, is like close your eyes. And if you're laying by a window and like letting the sun come in, you just watch the little shapes and colors kind of dance across the backs of the eyelids and just watch that almost like a little movie screen. And it gets you so dropped in. Like it's almost like, because it's beautiful too, right? And it's just like, it gives your mind something to anchor into, and then before you know it, you've been lying there for a while and it's just like you're feeling, and that's the point of it all. So I feel like that's a good one too, where it's like I'm not meditating, I'm just watching my little eye movie screen. You know, so that's one of my favorite practices for just like there's nothing to do.
Watching the movie. I know, because lately as I'm sort of progressing in my healing journey, I'm finding myself busying the shit out of myself.
Oh my gosh,
I think I'm regressing to this idea of like not wanting to be alone or feel lonely. And so I'm like, going to a class, then I'm going grocery shopping, then I'm prepping food, then I'm meeting a friend out.
To-do list.
And so even yesterday, like took time to like sit down and write, like, I am afraid of being lonely right now. I am filling my schedule with every possible thing.
Which is so normal.
So I love this idea of like, cause I'm always like, I don't know what I need right now. And I'm doing all right, but I'm kind of like always ready to like continue to evolve and grow.
And to be fair, I just want to put out there that while I am a yoga instructor, I am constantly struggling with, like even just right now being in this phase of I'm someone that I'm like a creature of comfort and I love to be slow and whatever. And now that I'm taking on this business in the transition, I'm so busy. And like yesterday, I stared at my computer screen doing work for like 4 hours without looking up. Like, so there is so many things. And, even just like right now with everything going on in the world, like I fall victim to the like death scroll, doom scroll of just like somebody give me, like answers and like help. Like it is just so normal. And I think, yeah, it's something that I'm constantly struggling with too, is to like, how do we,
or just have grace and not struggle with
exactly.
it. Like,
and
go,
yeah,
it's okay today. I do
it's
scroll
just,
tomorrow.
we're so human. It's just so human. Yeah. So I think the taking the pressure off of yourself and just being like, can I close? Even if you're like sitting, another great tool is like sitting in the car. If you're out running a bajillion errands, I'm like, I will literally do breath work in the car. Like while I'm driving, I'll like yell or hum or whatever it is, just to like, it's not like it has to be a full meditation. Right. It's like those moments where you can just plug into the tools that you know you have, which is just stillness in your breath, you know? So, but yeah, we all struggle with it.
I love that. Can you please share where people can connect and find you as we wrap up this wonderful episode together?
Well, sojournsd.com is the website, obviously. You can find Sojourn on Instagram at SojournSD. You can find myself, personal Instagram, Kelly Jean. And yeah, that's mostly it. I'm not as like online or like outward facing as I should be. And I'm going to be better about that. But find me there. Find me there for now.
Well, thank you so much for your time and coming on Wild and Wise. I just love you so much.
I love you so much.
So proud of you for what you're doing. I think there's just a lifetime of things to come from this beautiful space in San Diego. So if you haven't gone to a class, go check them out.
Oh, thank you, Alex. I love you.